Brilliant. Can everyone hear me? Let me just check that. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Yeah, brilliant. Fantastic. Thank you for the introduction, Amanda. And some of you might have joined me for the workshop I did a couple of weeks ago. If you didn't, we've now got that on the website, so you can do that one again if you missed it. So this is sort of a follow-on from it, but you can still do this if you didn't do the last workshop. There's still lots of things you can get involved with. And you'll find today that some of the things that I'm doing with you, you can do here and now. And other things, it's to go off and do once the workshop's finished. So this will be about 15 or 20 minutes. And then there'll be an activity you can go off and do. And then at the end of the workshop, Amanda will explain how you can share what you've made with us back at Red Earth Theatre. I'm just going to pin myself so I can see myself a bit better. Just bear with me a minute. There we go. So I've got a special guest with me today, which is Martha, who's my eldest daughter. And she's been helping me make some things for the workshop. And she's also going to join in today and help me explain some things as we go. And she's also going to make sure I do things at the right speed, because sometimes I explain things and I go a bit too fast. So Martha's going to try and join in where she can. And I know she knows some of you who are taking part. So as Amanda said, my job is I'm a theatre designer, which means that I design sets and costumes for theatre productions. And I work for lots of different theatre companies all around the country. Obviously at the moment theatres are closed, so I'm not working so much, but it does mean I get this lovely opportunity to do some creative online workshops instead, which is great. So I'm going to share a little bit of an insight into my job, and then we're going to have a go at being designers today, and I'm going to show you a fun activity you can take part in. So it's my job to make the decisions with the director about how the stage is going to look for a production. So if you've been to the theatre, you might be able to remember the stage set that you were looking at when you went to see a specific production. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to share some pictures from my computer with you, which show a couple of designs that I've made. And the photographs I'm going to show you are of models of stage sets. So it's not the real thing, it's a miniature version that I made to explain to the actors and the director and the person who was making it what I wanted the stage set to look like. So if I just go to share screen now, I'm going to do this. Bear with me a minute. Oops. Hopefully, can you all see a picture there? Give me a thumbs up if you can see a picture of, oh, hang on, it's just disappearing. You can see my cursor and a picture? Yeah, great. So this is a production I did with Red Earth Theatre, which was called The Lost Happy Endings, and it was based on a book. Martha came to see this when she was very tiny. Actually, she might have even been a bump in my stomach at that stage, but this was a production we did, which was based on a book, and it's about a little girl called Jub. Here's Jub in the model, so that's a miniature model person, so it's like you might get in a doll's house, a miniature person there, and she stood in the model that I made to show the company what I wanted the show to look like. Now, this story is set in a forest, so you'll be able to notice that there are these shapes here that look like trees. And there's something about these trees that are a little bit unusual. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit closer to the model and see if you can have a little look there and see what you notice about the trees. So on the trees here are lots of books. So the whole forest that Jub lives in is made of books. And on the floor of the set, all around here, were lots of pages from books. And we stuck those to the stage floor. And the reason that we chose to design the show to look like this was that this character Jub here, she loves stories and she loves reading. So we decided to show that in how the set looks. If I go back to the other picture, you'll also see, as well as these different things that were standing in the stage space, we also hung some things in the space. So up here we have some books that were hanging on strings above the stage. And they helped increase the feeling that we were sat in a forest. They came out over the audience's head. As well as all the things we had on stage here, we also had some things that were stored in what we call the wings, which is the side spaces of a stage. So the audience don't see the wings. They're just off to the side, either side, here and here. And in this piece, we had a cave that a witch lived in, and that lived in the side of the stage. And then when we came to that scene, we could bring it on from the side, and then we could take it back off again. So it's a brilliant stage, this one, because we could store things in the side, and we could also store things above the set, and we could hang things in the stage space. Right, I'm now going to show you another picture, which is of a very different design. Let's just go down. Oh, sorry, before I do that, so there's a little picture. That just gives you an idea. I showed you the model. There's what the show looked like for real. So this isn't the actress that played Jub, the little girl you can see in the model. This is a different actress, but she sat in the middle of that big tree that you can see in the picture. And here you can see all the books that we made. These were pretend books that we made for our stage set. And you can also see all the other different props that Jub has that hangs in her house. So she's got, you have to look really closely here. There's a star there, there's an old bicycle wheel, a broom. I think this was one of her socks up here. So it was quite a detailed set and very much from the imagination. Okay, if I just go down one more, we've got a really different looking set. And this is of a production that was set in a living room. So there might be some things you can recognise here. There's a sofa and there's an armchair. And over here, there's a sideboard and a lamp. And there's lots of pictures on the wall. And in the side here, there's even a Christmas tree, which you can't quite see. It's tucked in the window. So this is a little bit like a doll's house. So this is the actual model that I made. So it's much like the real thing, shrunk down to be a much smaller size. But there's something that's a little bit strange about this room. And I think if you have a look at it, you might think, what's unusual about the room? Well, one of the things that's unusual is all the walls are a strange shape and they all lean into the space. So you might be wondering why we made the stage look like this. Well, this was because all the action that took place in the living room was very intense. There were quite a lot of arguments in this play. So we wanted to make the room itself feel like it was closing in on the family that lived inside it. So once again, in my job, I have the lovely job of making pictures on stage, but I can also use the picture to say something about what's going on during the piece. So the first one I showed you was a very magical story. So the set was very magical. And this set had different shapes in it to help give more of a sense of the action that was going on in the play. Now, during this play, something quite big happened to the set and it changed. I'm going to just go on one more picture and you might notice something changes. See if you can spot the difference. So it looked like this and then it changed to that. So it went from that to that. So you will hopefully have noticed there that the whole of the back wall of the theatre, of the living room disappeared. So how did that happen, you might wonder? Well, above the stage is what we call the fly floor. And that is a space above the theatre stage where we can store things. So the whole of that wall was on some ropes and there was someone up in the fly floor and they were literally able to pull the ropes and pull that wall away totally to open up the back of the set. So that's quite a hard job. You have to be quite strong to be able to do that. If you've been to the theatre, or if you go in the future, have a look at the theatre building and you might notice that if you're on the outside of the building, there's a big box above where the stage is, and that's where they can store all the scenery. So it's a really useful space for things to be able to come in and out of our stage space. Okay, I'm just going to come away from the screen share again, and I can see you all. So there we go, we're back again. Everyone see me back again too? Yeah, brilliant. Okay. So in the last workshop we did, we had a look at an image from this book, which is called The Red Tree, and it's by an author called Sean Tam. And this is the next production that Red Earth are going to be working on. It's a really beautiful children's book with lots of really wonderful pictures, but not many words, but it's a story about a girl. And in the last workshop, we had a look at one specific image from the book. So I'm going to just bring up the share screen again, and then it means I can show you the image. So let me just do that. So this was the image we were looking at from the book. And the words that go with this image are, "Wonderful things are passing me by." And in the picture, if you look carefully, you can see a little girl at a window. And it looks like she's looking at the window. But I think from the picture, we're kind of looking at what she might be looking at through her window. So maybe this picture here is reflected in her window. But there's lots of really, really interesting things in this picture. Some of them we can tell what they are, some of them we're not so sure. So there's some butterflies up here. there's a really strange shape over here and some really beautiful clouds down the bottom here. So these are the wonderful things that she's looking at through her window. And we're going to use that picture today to give us some ideas of something we can create together. So I'm going to come away from the screen share again. Brilliant. And in the last workshop, we had a go at making our own window frames and our own pictures to go behind the window. So we made a piece of artwork that was similar to the idea from that book. So today we're going to go on one step further. This piece of artwork we created last time is a 2D piece of artwork, so it's fairly flat. It's different to the models that I showed you. It's more like a painting. But today we're going to have a think about how we can make our own miniature model. So once the workshop's finished, you can have a little scout around your house and see if you can find a box. And it's probably best not to have a huge box. Martha's just going to hold that one up for us. This is a little box that came in our post, which had some printer ink in it. We're doing a lot of printing in this house at the moment, so we're trying to get through all the schoolwork. So this is a little box that I found, okay? So this is our stage box. So as if we've got the theatre stage, we've got a space here for us to create a design. Now what I've done in the box, this is something you might need to get some help with, but I've made some slits along the top of the box, and I've made some slits in the sides of the box. And I did that just using some scissors. So when you have a go at that later on, if that's something you think you're going to find tricky, get an adult in your house to help you with that. So we've got an empty box here, we've got lots of slits. So first of all, in the way that I showed you in our first picture of my model, I showed you the little girl Jug. We're going to have a go at putting a little miniature version of ourselves into that box. And this is going to become our box of wonderful things. So to make a little miniature version of ourselves, we're going to have to pretend that we shrink ourselves. So we did this in the last workshop, we're going to have a go at doing it again. We've got another extra bit we're going to add on today. So you get your piece of paper, you might have a big sheet of paper or a small sheet of paper, it really doesn't matter. You stick the piece of paper between your thumb and your finger like that. So you're using your thumb as your measurer, and then you draw a little line where the top of your thumb is, and then you take your thumb away. That's how big I want you to make your picture. So the top of your head reaches the top of the line and your feet reach the bottom of the piece of card or paper there. So you draw yourself on, but today I'd like you to have a go at drawing yourself in a position, in a pose that shows that you're really happy because you're stood in a place surrounded by all the wonderful things that you like in your life. So you might have your hands in the air, or you might be doing a dance, or you might be even standing on your hands. You're really happy. So if everybody has a go at doing that now, have a go at drawing yourself. Make it the size of your thumb. Keep them quite simple for now. You can go back and have a go at colouring those in later. Me and Martha are going to just do those for a minute. So if everybody else has a few minutes to have a go at that. And then once you've drawn yourself, you can cut yourself out. And I'd suggest that when you cut yourself out, you just do it quite roughly. You might have drawn quite thin arms, and you might find if you cut too close that they break off. So I'm going to just show you on mine how I've done it. Just let Martha have my scissors. There you go, Martha. So I've just drawn around mine I've cut around mine quite roughly for now. You could neaten that up a little bit later. I've got my arms up in the air and my legs. So you all have a go. Martha's just going to cut herself. Right? Lovely, brilliant. Okay, I'll just maybe give everybody a couple more minutes because I can see you're all quite busy still finishing those. Yeah, maybe colour it after, because we've got all the colours already there. Just hang on a minute. You're going to help me hand these things in a minute. Okay, so no matter how far you've got, maybe if you stop there and then I can just explain what we can do now with the things we've made. Okay, so after the workshop, you'll go and find your box, and then Martha's going to give me her little person. She's done hers super tiny. She's got a little person there, almost so small I can't actually hold it, but she's got a little person there that can live in her box. Okay, I've got one here that we made this morning, and what I did was I put a little bit of blue tack on this one, which meant that it can stand up in the box. So let me just have a go at sticking that one in. There you go. So this person is stood in the box there, and I'm just going to bring an extra box over so that I can stand this on it. So while I'm explaining, I'm not having to hold it. So just bear with me a minute. Move that out of the way. Right. Okay. So there's the box. I'll just bring it a bit closer for you to see. Go that down a bit. There we go. There's our box and there's our person, and we've made our slits in the top and in the side, and we're going to use these slits to be able to drop in some of our pieces of scenery. So the idea for your box is, the title of your box is My Wonderful Things, and you can think about all the things you'd like to surround yourself with in the box. So this morning, myself with Martha and Rosie, who's my middle daughter, spent some time. We made some things to go into our little box here. So we're going to show you what those are and how they work. So Martha, do you want to hand me? Maybe let's take these bits first. These really weren't they? So we made some of these things we haven't finished making yet. So we've made some shapes, but we haven't coloured them in. So this we made was a tree trunk. So I've got a little slit in the top of my box here, and I can just slide my tree trunk down. Now you'll find, to make these things stand up, you'll need to make them all slightly taller than the box so that they can poke out the top here. Okay, and then we've got a green piece of tree which we're going to turn around, and I've got a slit in front of the tree trunk slit, and we can just slide the top of our tree in there. Oh, the tree trunk's gone a bit wonky. There we go. And then we also thought, well, Rosie coloured in this lovely little forest of colourful trees and a building, and I think this was from an adventure she was thinking she'd like to go on where she goes exploring. So with these, because it's a smaller piece, if we go in from the top, it will just fall over. So this one we can slide in from the side. So it's as if it's in our theatre wings and we're sliding it into the space. So I can fit it through here. Whoops, it's going. Here it comes. There we go. So we're sliding that in now, and that goes behind our tree, in front of our tree, sorry. I get on the wrong way around. And then we were thinking, all of us were thinking, gosh, it would be lovely to be out in a big space with lots of really big fluffy clouds. So we've made a big cloud that we're going to slide in from the top here, like that. And then we were thinking, in the last few weeks, we've been able to go outside, but not for really long periods of time. And I was thinking how much I miss standing outside in all sorts of different weather. So we made some raindrops that are going to come through our house and start to rain on us. So we go like that. So Martha's really is her friends. She's really missing her being around lots of people at the moment. So she's made this really fab little collection of people here along the bottom. So I'm going to just slide in Martha's friends into the picture as well. So she's got her friends for company there. While you're making these as well, you might also find, these are things we drew, but we've also found a few things that you might be able to do the same for yours, where you find things around the house that you cut out. So this was actually from a packet. We've been doing quite a lot of planting in our garden at the moment. This was actually from a seed packet. So these were some flowers and a butterfly. So you could use found things maybe from magazines or old boxes or packets. And then we also found this little picture of a house and a tree, which we could put in our box. And I thought, that made me think actually of going to my mum's house, so Martha's granny's house. And whenever we get to go there, she's always made really nice home baked things, and she's got a really nice big garden for us to run around in. So that's one of the things we're missing a little bit that we'd like to put in the box. So you can see there we've got all sorts of different shapes coming into our box, and suddenly it looks really busy, and it's a little bit more like a miniature stage set. And the lovely thing is about these things that we've been able to slot in and out at the top is that you can actually tell a story with your box, and you can move things around. So we've got the weather in our box, and we might decide it's going to stop raining, and maybe the clouds are going to lift up, and then maybe we could make a sunshine that drops in, so we could change what the weather's like. We could even change the seasons. We might decide to pull off the leaves for the tree and it becomes a bit wintry out there. Maybe Martha's friends decide to run off on an adventure and they come back out the side here. Okay, so you could use your boxes to tell a story. So you might have lots of different scenes. And if you do that, you might decide you want to take a series of photos of the different ways your box can look. So that's one we made this morning. We've been having lots of fun with this week. So I've also got another one here. I'm just going to move my miniature person across.
The next one's really good.
The next one's a bigger one, isn't it, Martha?
So
and it's, well, Martha thinks it's, so we've been busy making this. I'm just going to put the person in. And we put lots of colour in this one. Let me just turn it around for everybody to see. This you can see is is it a shoebox? Yeah, an old shoebox there. So with this one, with our person, we've got, we've done some trees again. This time we've made some patterns on our trees though. So we've made swirly patterns on the tops of our trees, and on the trunk we've done this sort of texture. We've also made a lovely big rainbow, because one of the things that we keep thinking about at the moment, wherever you go, you see lots of lovely rainbows in people's windows, but we're also thinking how lovely it would be to go outside and see a rainbow for real. So we've made a big rainbow in there. And we've also made lots of hills. These all slot in from the side. I can just pull these across. And again, we could change the way the box looks by moving these things in and out. If I reach in, I'm just going to take the rainbow out. Oops. Straighten that one back up. The rainbow, you might wonder how we made that one. If you have a look closely, you might recognise that. So that's just the edge of a plate. So as you go around your house, you might be able to find things you could use to cut out. And Rosie just coloured that in for us. So we've got a lovely big rainbow there. So if I take that out, and in the back of the box, we just found a piece of blue paper to give us a nice blue sky there. I'm going to just, again, this idea of being able to tell stories with our box. Once you've made your scene, you could then change the way the scenery looks. So I'm flying my tree trunks out here. And then I'm going to fly the top of this tree trunk out the top, and I'm left with just one tree, and I'm going to bring the green hills out on the side. So suddenly the box looks really different. So we've suddenly found ourselves in a different place. So you can have a go at making your little miniature person go on lots of different adventures. Okay, I'm just going to move that box out of the way now. So hopefully that's given you lots of ideas today. The idea is that using your little person and the box that you go off and find, that you can go off now and create your own little stage set boxes. And then what we're trying to do as a company is collect together all of your artworks for an online gallery that we can create to share with everybody our ideas. And it might well be that when we come to work on our next production, whenever that is, of the red tree, that we look back at some of the lovely artworks you've created, and they might help inspire us for how some of the ideas of how the stage set could look for this show. So yeah, try and put together as many ideas as you can, because that would be really fantastic to share with us at this time. I think that's all we were going to share this afternoon, isn't it, Martha? But I'm going to hand you back to Amanda, because she can tell you how you can share your work with us. So let me just see if Amanda's available.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Laura. Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me okay? Give thumbs up if you can hear me. Great. Well, that was such a lovely session, and thank you to Martha for being such a good assistant as well. So Laura, thank you. That was lovely. I've got my my model of me, and that's as far as I've got. But I know that I've got some shoe boxes up in the loft, so I think I'll go and get one and have a try. I think it's a brilliant idea, that. So as Laura said, we are collecting anything that you want to send us that you've done. We'd love to see any photographs of your your drawings of models of yourself or the model boxes that you make. And we've got a special email address for anything that you want to send through to us. And it's calmandcreative@redearththeatre.com. And I'll say that again. It's calmandcreative@redearththeatre.com. And so as you're making things, as Laura said, you could actually make like a little photographic album of what you're making, all the different parts that you've made of your set, and then have photographs of different settings in it. And if you've got a story that you've come up with as well, you could send us the story. And we're happy to take any of those. And we're going to be making, towards the end of this whole project, we're going to make a gallery on our website of anything that's been sent in. So make sure that your first name, only your first name, is somewhere either on the actual thing that you've made, or on the JPEGs that you send through, or the videos, or the pieces of writing that you send through. And it'd be lovely to know what your age is as well. We always like to know how old people are that have sent us stuff. And so I think before we go, I just need to say a big thank you again to Laura for such a lovely session, and a thank you to Martha for assisting.